Coming to you live from the Now Media Newsroom.
I'm Jim Check. You're watching Now Media. With me, Gavin Dew, the Conservative MLA for Kelowna Mission. Big day for the Conservatives today as John Rustad steps down. Lots of pressure building over, ever since Eleanor Sturko kind of left the caucus there. Lots of pressure building on John Rustad to step down. And he finally stepped down this morning. I think it was around 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, Jim, I think what we're really focused on today is thanking John and celebrating the work that he did to build the foundation for the modern Conservative Party of BC. I think he has a lot to be proud of, and we're all very thankful that he made, I think, a very graceful move this morning after a very difficult couple of days. So it's been certainly challenging, but also cathartic. It feels like a weight has been lifted. But again, I think today is really all about celebrating and thanking John for all of the work that he did to build this party into what it is today.
Yeah, there's no doubt he took a party that was basically non-existent, right? Non-existent party, really, and then took it to almost government. You know what I mean? Like when Kevin Falcon resigned, or whatever you want to call it at that time, and then merged, or whatever he wanted to say, and John Rustad took it within a hair's breadth of taking government from a party that
it was really
no status prior to that, really, right?
Yeah, I mean, really an incredible story and an incredible journey, Jim. As you say, one of the great comebacks for the history books. John was obviously kicked out of the BC Liberals. He rebuilt and reanimated the Conservative Party of BC, and just navigated through an incredible series of events that made history over the last number of years. And I think I'm hopeful that is the journey and the achievement that we're able to remember him for in terms of his place in BC political history.
So John has stepped down as the leader, and there's an interim leader in place now. And then John is continuing on in his MLA role. I think it's Prince George he represents. Is that the riding?
Nechako Lakes, yeah. So John is continuing to represent Nechako Lakes, and the caucus has elected Trevor Halford to serve as the interim leader. Trevor is an MLA from Surrey who has served as our environment and transportation critic, longtime political operator and organizer turned MLA. I've known Trevor since around 2010, 2011. So it's obviously interesting to see someone of my generation step up and take on that role. And so far, I've been really impressed by the approach that Trevor has taken and by the leadership that he's shown as we work to stabilize the caucus, stabilize the party, and make sure that we are set up for success in going after the NDP.
Now, looking forward, you and I did an interview just in the past there, and one of the comments made then was, and I think you agreed to it, is that the Conservatives need to get their shit together, and this looks like a turning of the page, and maybe that fractured party, because we interviewed Jonathan Kay as well, and he said, like BC NDP is living in la la land, but then you look at the Conservatives and they're just in chaos. And is this the bringing together, the fracture? Like Jonathan Kay said, there needs to be a Stephanie or Stephen Harper to come and bring these fractures together.
Yeah, I think it's really important that our party is unified, both within the caucus and more broadly out there in terms of members, organizers, and the broad voter coalition that we have built and need to continue to grow. One of the things that I really want to stress is that some of the challenges and tensions that we were facing, they really weren't ideological divides. We were log jammed a little bit operationally, but what I've seen over the last year is a caucus of people who represent the breadth of our coalition really coming to know each other very well. many of us had never met before our first caucus meeting. So I've really seen that caucus team gel over the last year, built incredible friendships and working relationships with people all across the caucus who come from the full geography and the full kind of ideological range of our caucus. It's a really good team, Jim, and it really has gelled well. Now I think we have the opportunity to take it to another level and to really stabilize it, systematize it, turn our focus toward election readiness, turn our focus to making sure that we are truly a government in waiting that the people of British Columbia can look to as an alternative to David Eby and his litany of failures.
There's speculation that Eby will call an election really quick here before the Conservatives can kind of find their footing. And like that, you're going to find a new leader. You have an interim leader right now, and Eby could call that election, because I don't think he was too worried at when you guys were kind of fractured. But depending on who this leader is, this could really be a big threat to David Eby, because I've talked many times of all the pots boiling over on the BC stovetop right now, from the economy to healthcare to the decriminalization to crime and safety. I mean, it's just all over the place, in the economy being the big one, the budget deficits, all that. Is there time, you think, if Eby moves really quick, for you guys to find a leader that can lead you into the promised land and form government?
Yeah, Jim, there's a lot to unpack in your question. The first thing I would say is you've just laid out a partial litany of the things that are going terribly under this government. David Eby is a failed premier who has led our economy into serious trouble. Our healthcare system is failing. We're in massive deficits. We have a public safety crisis. We have a land title, crisis. We have a crisis of confidence in this government. David Eby is a total failure. And the sooner he's gone, the better. Now, I think that, frankly, the NDP were looking to some of the challenges that we were having as being an opportunity. And there was strong rumor that they were lining up their staff and preparing to drop the writ for an election in the spring to try to take advantage of the situation that we were in. I would say that the probability of that happening has just gone down very substantially, both because we're stabilizing and moving forward, but also because I fully believe that the voting public of British Columbia would punish David Eby very strongly if he was so opportunistic as to try to call a snap election in the middle of a leadership transition in the opposition, especially because that same public is looking at what is happening under this government. The crisis stemming from uncertainty as a result of the Cowichan ruling, the Heritage Conservation Act, and other changes that are creating tremendous instability in terms of property rights, the failing healthcare system that we've seen close to home in the interior health catchment area and in Kelowna, the lowest small business confidence in the country, just the catastrophic litany of failures. I think the public is ready to vote this NDP government out. And if they think they can pull a fast one, I think the public knows better. I think they would be punished for that opportunism. But at the same time, I would not put it past this premier because he's a sneaky guy.
I did an interview with Mario Canseco recently. I'm not sure if you watched it or not, but there was a poll of who would replace. Like I said, there's been a lot of talk about John Rustad being replaced, and there was a poll done by Research Co. And you were named as one of the front runners, along with Eleanor Sturko and a few other people there. Is there talk out there right now of what's going on, or are you guys just basically trying to get through today as John Rustad resigned, or do you know where this is going, and would you offer your name, I guess is the question.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I'll take the question as a compliment, but I think that right now the focus has to be on stabilizing the party. So I've been doing my utmost over the last 48 hours to make sure that everyone in the caucus is getting hugged and pulled in, and that we make sure that we stabilize our 39-person caucus, that we make sure that, frankly, we're putting gas in the tank We've fundraising had hit a significant standstill over the last number of months, which contributed to what we were dealing with. So I'm going to be out there making sure that we're raising money as the end of the year comes down. I expect that I'll be doing all that I can to help with election readiness, both here at home, but also around the province. Running campaigns is something that I did a lot of before I entered politics as a candidate. So I'm going to be very focused on making sure that we are ready to go up against David Eby whenever there's an election called. That's where my focus is right now in terms of stabilizing the party. And I think today the conversation has to be about recognizing and celebrating John and all that he's contributed to bringing our party to where it is today.
Is there, as Jonathan Kay said, a Stephanie or Stephen Harper out there that, because Stephen Harper did a great job bringing the Conservatives together nationally and forming government for two terms. Is there such a person that you see, or is there a multitude of people that can be chosen from to bring the Conservatives together to really meld that pot?
Yeah, that's a great question and a very layered question, Jim. I mean, Stephen Harper wasn't the Stephen Harper that we all remember when he became leader of the Conservative Party. Gordon Campbell wasn't the Gordon Campbell we remember when he became the leader of the BC Liberal Party. It's very rare that there are fully baked political leaders waiting in the wings to just emerge full-fledged. I think it really is a process of learning and growing. And frankly, I think that we have a great opportunity for that to happen through the leadership race that is ahead. I've been through one of those. I ran to lead the BC Liberal Party, as people know. It's hard. It's really hard. It takes a significant toll on your family. It's really hard. But it's also an incredible growth experience where people enter it, they run, they show their stuff, they show their skills, they grow their skills, they're put into situations that are really, difficult challenges, whether that be trying to fundraise, to organize, to debate. And what you end up with from that, if you end up with a leader, but you also end up with people who are within the caucus demonstrating their abilities in a way they might not have been able to before. You end up with outsiders who put their name in, who end up becoming significant players in a party, having demonstrated their skills or brought a new message or a new style into a party. So I think it's a really healthy opportunity for the Conservative Party of BC to showcase the talent we already have, to bring new talent in, and to, for the public who are watching, for us to show our maturation into a government in waiting that they can look to replace David Eby and his failed NDP government. So I think it's a big opportunity for us. I think that, imagining that there's somebody you can pluck off a shelf who is 100% ready, that's not the way to go. What you do is you want to look for fundamentals. You need to make sure you've got someone that has political experience, that has business experience, that has people management experience, that has communications experience. You try to find who you can in that regard. People self-select, people get recruited. Ideally, we have a nice big field of people that run, and we have a well-structured process that enables them to show their stuff, and that results in a great new leader who has the unified support of everybody in the party. That's what I'm hoping we'll see.
One of the things that Stephen Harper did well was bring the fractures together, and that is one of the downfalls of John Rustad was the fractures continued to happen. The party kind of fractured, and that's the danger right now, because you do have these fractures. You have a new party that's out there too. Karen, I interviewed her with Centre BC, and then you have the One BC party, and then now you have to wonder about some of the loyalists with John Rustad. Where does that go? So that was one of his big skills, was to bring these fractures back together and say, the real opponent is the BC NDP. It's not amongst ourselves, and that is what I think most voters in British Columbia that are looking for change want to see the Conservatives figure out that the real opponent is not within yourselves, but it is the NDP.
Jim, you're right about that. And, what I've heard from my colleagues over the last number of days especially today, is a unified desire to do just that. We've seen the caucus really come back together again after some really tough days. It's been hard. It's been cathartic. There have been tears. There have been hugs. But the overwhelming sentiment is a desire to be unified and to beat the NDP. And I think, to your point, Jim, that is what the public is looking for us to do. I have said and written before, we have a right of first refusal on becoming the vessel for the full breadth of that kind of common sense coalition that has dominated most of the last century of BC politics and has more often than not defeated the NDP and has more often than not been really central to progress in British Columbia, to prosperity in British Columbia, to good government in British Columbia. So that opportunity is there. We do have a great broad team within caucus and a great broad voter coalition. We're going to have to keep that intact. That is going to be a really central task for whoever becomes the leader after a leadership race. But that's also a task that Trevor Halford has already sat down to do as interim leader. I think he's done a really exceptional job, even over the last 24 hours, in setting a good foundation for that. That is a task that all of us within the caucus, I think, are reaching out and doing. Those of us who come from all different parts of the coalition within the caucus, look, we've all been talking to each other, reaching out to each other, hugging each other, making sure that one another understand just how important each and every member of caucus is to our future. So that is happening already right now today, and it will be a central part of the future.
John Rustad's leadership, even at this moment, I think matters a lot, and it depends on what he does. Has he given any kind of indication as whether he'll continue to support the BC Conservative Party, stay within it, and encourage the people, the ones that are very loyal to him right to the end there, to kind of meld into this under the new leadership? Do you see any direction from him at this point?
Yeah, Jim, I can't speak for John, obviously, but what I will say is that this morning, when he announced that he would be stepping down, he put out a statement that I thought was very graceful. I think he said a lot of the right things that needed to be heard for people out there, especially people who remained very staunch loyalists to him. So I do think that history will remember this day well in terms of the grace that John showed in making sure that he set up a smooth transition of power from himself to Trevor Halford as interim leader, and ultimately to whoever steps in to that long-term leadership role. So he has sent the right signals today. And I think, again, it's been a really fraught couple of days. It's been a hard few weeks and months. This came to a head very quickly, but I really think what we want to focus on today is remembering all of the hard work and all of the foundation building that John did for this party.
The last couple of fractures, Eleanor Sturko and Amelia Volpe, is there any indication whether they would come back into the fold?
Yeah, Jim, that's a question that Trevor Halford, the interim leader, addressed during a press conference earlier. He was asked about that. And Trevor, I think very rightly, has said that he does not want to handcuff a future leader in terms of what decisions they might make. He's, again, I think Trevor deserves a lot of regard for the approach he's taking, where he is very much positioning himself as an interim caretaker leader who is not going to make dramatic decisions, whether that be on the policy front, whether that be around who comes and goes from caucus. He's been very clear that he intends to stand behind the team as much as he stands in front of it. And I think that really is setting a very positive tone. So no decision on that front. Trevor has indicated he does not intend to be the one to make any decisions along those lines. That's something that will be left up to a future leader.
Can you share with me or a little bit of insight with the viewers on how Trevor Halford was chosen to be the interim leader?
Yeah, I can't talk about what happens in caucus meetings, obviously, but I think that speaking to who Trevor is a really obviously experienced individual. Trevor previously worked in the legislature as a staffer years ago. Obviously, this is his second term as an MLA. He has, I think, impressed everyone over the last year as someone who has a strong command of especially the operational and communications elements of what we do here in the legislature. I think that he certainly was seen by caucus as a steady hand. And I think that he has been. One of the things that I think is most important is he's been really clear in trying to signal the integrity that he intends to bring in terms of very much being an interim leader, making sure that we have a fair and well-run leadership contest, making sure that he does not bind the hands of a future leader. So those are all the kinds of attributes that I think people see in Trevor. And again, I've seen him doing a really good job of helping to stabilize and consolidate the situation over the last 24 hours. And that has given me confidence in him. And I think for all of us, it's really helped to create an environment where after a very tough couple of days and couple of months, the team really is gelling back together again very quickly. So I think, again, kudos to Trevor for the work he's done so far.
You and I had scheduled an interview for yesterday there, but then all this stuff was kind of going down. We postponed it, and we were going to talk about Airbnb, the policy with the city of Kelowna here, and maybe we'll do that tomorrow after you have, because there's some stuff that just came down. You have some time to digest that, and we'll get into that a little bit. Anything else you want to share today on of the last 24 hours that went down, or anything a message that you want to leave with British Columbians?
Yeah, Jim, I think really, the last thing I'll focus on, obviously, the House rose yesterday, so we have completed the work of the legislature for the fall. We saw, as we saw in the spring, we saw a government that doesn't really seem to have much of a coherent agenda. We saw a government that isn't really very interested in consulting with people, especially people in the business community. We saw a government that was keen to ram through its agenda with as little change as possible. So I remain extremely concerned about the direction of this government, and I remain extremely concerned in particular about the direction of the economy under this government. They've shown little understanding of what it takes to create small business confidence in particular, and that worries me greatly as we see the lowest small business confidence in Canada, the highest youth unemployment in a generation, serious challenges facing storefront business. So I'm going to remain really focused on that as we go into the new year. And I think, David Eby is not going to know what hit him. We're going to come back with a renewed vigor when the session picks up again in February. And we are going to do everything in our power to bring down this government, to position ourselves as a really strong, coherent government in waiting, and bring the people of British Columbia some relief after almost 9 long years of NDP government.
Any last question? Any idea of when we can expect to have a new leader of the Conservative Party?
Jim, that's a good question. I don't have information on that today. I know that, obviously things have developed very quickly over the last number of days. But I believe that the Conservative Party of BC will be putting out more information on that relatively soon, just communicating what that timeline could look like. So I don't know how fast or how slow that process will be undertaken, but more information coming soon.
I imagine that it will be the regular process where people will put their names forward, and then it'll be some debates, and then the voting, and then the selection process where they continue to grind it down to one person standing on the stage.
Yeah, Jim. As per the constitution of the party, it's a points-based, preferential ballot system, which people would be familiar with from other leadership contests. I don't know exactly. Normally, what happens is the party appoints what's called a LEOC, Leadership Election Organizing Committee. They set some of the more fine-grained rules around, what's the cost of entry, what's the timeline, how does it work. I think all that information remains to be revealed from the party over the weeks that come. But what I would just close with is, again, reaffirming what we're really focused on today is just celebrating John, thanking John, recognizing his contribution, and recognizing the reality that, Jim, we would not be going into a leadership race to choose the next leader of the Conservative Party of BC and the next Premier of British Columbia if John Rustad had not laid that foundation over the last number of years. So we really, again, want to acknowledge John today.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it that John accomplished a lot. And like I said, we came within a whisker's breadth of forming government. I'm sure he's going to look back on some of the things and wish he had a redo. I mean, everybody does all the time. But I'm going to share one sentiment here with one of the comments here, and it says basically, someone very special better come to the scene and rescue the Conservative movement here in BC. So I'll share that with you, and I think a lot of people are hoping for that a strong voice and a strong communicator. And one of the things missing in politics is a straight shooter. Do you know what I mean? Like somebody that says what it is instead of all this gobbledygook, and you're a pretty straight shooter. And we need more straight shooters as opposed to people that just talk in circles and never answer questions.
Thanks, Jim. So closing message, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you for watching Now Media.
We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.